Thought I'd do a quick video, a stare and compare of the Remington 760 carbine versus the Remington 7600 carbine. I bought this 7600 carbine 13 years ago or so, and I wanted it for a woods gun. I equipped it with a Williams rear peep and a Williams fire sight, front fiber optic sight. And I had to get a barrel band for the sling, and I actually had to do the drilling for the sling on the rear. This is a nice gun. I harvested a couple deer with it. It's got regular standard checker in on it. Standard blue in. This is in 30-06. My son Judson, he recently wanted to be able to carry a peep sight style gun in the woods on a walk or rainy days. His scope's always fogging up. A lot of our spots are close shooting anyway, within 50 yards. And I really like the looks of the 760 and started craving one. So I shopped and finally got one on Gunbroker. It's in 308, so it's a little more rare, and it was a little more money. But like Judson said, you don't have a 308 in a carbine. So anyway, the main purpose of this video is I'm going to drift that front sight on video here. There's a few videos about it, and it's not very clear on some, which way you go and so on and so forth, and how hard it's going to go and things to do. Things I picked up along the way looking at blogs before I try to knock that sight out of there. I don't think it's a big deal, but I'm going to take every precaution so I don't break anything. So as you can see on the 760, we got high gloss varnish, different style checkering. And I've already equipped it with a Williams peep sight, and I got the aperture in it for sighting it in. I'm going to take that out when it's time to hunt. And remove the original buckhorn sight. One thing that's important to have on hand, a friend of mine has a Williams screw set, and it's got the tapered head screws, it's got plug screws, headless screws, full assortment of gunsmithing screws. So what you do is when you remove your sights, you put some screws in to fill the holes. And this one particular gun came with no screws in the receiver where a scope would go. So I had to fill those two, and then these two came with the Williams peep sight. One thing important to mention, this, if you're shopping for a Williams, this sight is different than the one for the 7600. The guy at Williams, Brian, he told me the hole spacing is the same, but the screw hole size is different. So that's the reason you end up ordering a 742 peep sight for it. Yeah, right there it says Williams WGRS 742, number 1454. So that's screwed right on. We shot it, make sure it shot before we went through all this work, and at 100 yards I could hit a 12-inch silhouette with open sights, holding in a certain spot, so it wasn't quite sighted in. I had to hold a little hair to the left, but it would hit it every time, so it groups. One thing I like about this, it's different. This trigger handle, butt, whatever you call it, is bigger in diameter than this 760, 7600 rather, and that's cool. And at first look, you know, us modern guys, so-called, you know, we don't like all the 1980s white trim, but you know, that was part of the gun. So I became infatuated with it, and that's one thing I looked for when I was buying them, is that white is the varnish yellowed and causing the ring to be all yellow. These were nice and white and crisp. Original butt plate too. That was another thing I took into consideration while shopping for it. A lot of them have rubberized butt plates on them. So just tried to get everything as original as possible. One other accessory, it did not have a front mount for the swivel. All the guys nowadays are going with these. Some people say the barrel band has something to do with accuracy. I don't think that's going to make a lot of difference on a carbine. But you buy those hot barrels or whatever, of course you don't put a barrel band on those. They're made for accuracy. But this went in easy, and I remember having quite a time with that barrel band on that. Had to spread it and then try and put it on the barrel without scratching the blue in, and so on. So the next step is I bought a special gunsmith kit with brass punches. I'm going to drift this front sight out of there and put in this Williams dovetail fiber optic sight. So I'll show you how I'm going to do it. So one thing I did a lot of reading on it, and there was a blog that said you had to be careful about this ramp is screwed on. There's another screw in under the dovetail, and you don't want to just stick this in a vise with some masking tape around it and a couple blocks of wood, and if that starts coming hard, you're beating it pretty good and shear those screws off and knock the ramp off the gun. So probably making a bigger deal of it than I have to, but I made a block, this is maple, and made that block so that the top of that, the dovetail, will bypass that. And I'm going to wrap this in a towel and lay it flat on the floor, on the cement floor. And I bought this gunsmithing kit, and I'm going to use one of those brass punches to knock that out. So when we drift this, to take it out, we're going to go, as you shoulder at the gun and the muzzle facing away, we're going to go left to right. So we're going to go that way to knock it out. Left to right to take it out, and right to left to put it back in. I'm going to put some masking tape on there to protect my bluing, and we'll see how it goes. So I've got my gun all wrapped in a beach towel, and I've got my drifting block on the cement floor, and I got my barrel wrapped in masking tape, and I've got some masking tape on the block itself too. And now I'm going to use the 3/16 punch, brass punch, and I'm even going to use the fancy little hammer that came with the kit. And I'm going to attempt to drift that out of there. I'm going to make sure I got good bearing on my block. My front ramp is bared down on my block. And then I'm going to kind of hold that with my hand. Well, that was easier than I thought it was going to be. So, like I said, probably made a bigger deal of it than I had to, but there's the original sight out. And now we'll put the new one in. And you can see, there's that second screw I was talking about in the bottom of that dovetail. Okay, here we go. We'll grab the new one. I want to make sure I get some tape to protect as I knock in, and I'm not going to knock that in very hard. I'm going to make sure it's on the center as much as possible. I'm going to put some on to drift it in too. Here's our sight. So there's the front and rear to this. You can see it's tapered on the front. And that's going to make your dovetail go in the right way too, because that's tapered one way. That goes in and out one way. Rear sights go back and forth, but so that will go in like so. And I'm going to try and drift it in there. I've looked at this a couple ways and that looks fairly tight. But, you know, again, you want it tight. So I'm going to see how this goes. I'm not going to lie, that's going in real dry. And I saw a few videos that said you may need to dress that. Hit that a little bit with a rat tail file. Just to take a little bit off it so it will go in easier. So I'm just going to take a couple strokes on it. So I've looked at it, and I'm going to give it just a couple more taps to try and get it totally centered in that ramp. It's just a little bit more it needs to go. All right, we'll stop right there. That's pretty damn good. So I'm taking this BSA scope alignment bore sighter, and I'm gonna try and get my peep sight close with it. This sight has a screw to loosen on the top for windage. Slide it back and forth and tighten it down. And then there's one right here, your elevation. And I don't remember how I did my 7600. I want to say I did this too with that, but I don't know if I can zoom in here. So these are the results of my sighting in. I started out at 25 yards. The first shot was here. The second shot was here. So I moved my windage a little to the left. My third shot was here. I moved it back to the right halfway in between that. My fourth shot was here. Then I moved out to 70 yards. 70, 75. And my fifth shot was here. And at that range, all you can see, your bead covers up this whole circle pretty much. All you can see is the white around it. So you really got to concentrate and squeeze. I was kind of pulling them off there. So I tried to concentrate and squeeze. Number 6 was down here. And then number 7 was down here. So I came back up a little bit, split the difference between here and here. And number 8 was there, and number 9 was there. So I stopped, and then took the aperture out, and at 70 yards I have a 6-inch silhouette down there, and I fired at it offhand, no rest, just sitting at the table with my elbows on the table, and I hit the silhouette both times. So I'm content, and we'll practice with it a little more in last of October and just make sure we're good, and we should be good to go.